Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, yes.
All right, Linda, you can mute yourself now.
Okay.
All right, let's officially start the meeting. Good morning, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Tom Coates, and welcome to the December 2023 meeting of the Richmond Ions Community Group, also known as the Central Virginia Ions Community Group. And just to give you a little background, we've got a few announcements today, but for those who are not familiar with ions, it stands for Institute of Noetic Sciences. It's an organization that was founded by Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell. He was the lunar landing module pilot for Apollo 14 back in 1969 or 70, and he when he went on his trip to the moon, and like several of those who had that experience in those times, he had a takeaway from it, which was a unity consciousness experience as he was on his way back to Earth and seeing the Earth off in space at a distance of 200 and some thousand miles as a pale blue dot and so forth. And he resolved at that moment to dedicate the rest of his life to exploring the frontiers of consciousness, especially the interface between science and spirit. And in 1973, he created ions as a vehicle for that exploration. And as part of that process, community groups have been created around the world, mostly in the English-speaking world, but not exclusively. And we're very, very blessed in this one here in Richmond to have been around continuously now for 28 years, much longer than most others have ever survived. And we've had wonderful participation in the community. And since the COVID era, we've also had Zoom participation from people not even in our community, sometimes as far away as California and Europe and so forth, despite the time difference. So we've been very, very blessed. We've got some announcements before I get into that. We will, as you know, all who've ever been here before know, we survive only on the generosity of our members. The members or whoever shows up. There's nothing no qualification for membership other than showing up either in person or online, and we welcome everyone. And we do pass a basket for a love offering, and we ask you to reach into your pocket or into your wallet or your pocketbook, and where your heart and your wallet intersect, we ask you to put that into the basket, because that's the only way we keep going. We don't have any dues, we don't have any other requirements, but we do have to pay rent, and we have a few other expenses on a monthly basis as well. So we appreciate that. The basket is in the back, and we'll be passing around during the meeting. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you, Suzanne. On Zoom, those who are joining us on Zoom can also donate by going on our website. We have a PayPal function on the website, and just click on that, and you can make a donation there. If for those of you in our group who are not technologically proficient to use PayPal, which would include me as one of those, you can also write a check. You know, I have a daughter in her 30s who doesn't even know what a check is, but you can write a check and you can put it in the mail to me at the address that's shown on the email that you get every month, and your donation will be received and appreciated that way as well. We have some announcement that Martha Mullen is going to make in regard to a couple of items, and also I want to alert you all that we have these meetings on the third Saturday of each month from 10 to noon. We have a second meeting that we instituted a year ago. It's called a spiritual practice series, which we're doing in collaboration with a group called Sanctuary of Earth, which is on the first Wednesday of each month, from 7 to 8:30. It's on Zoom only. And I have to tell you, the attendance has not been what we would have liked at those meetings. So one of the inquiries that we're going to initiate today is whether there's a better weeknight for those that would help people find, be more convenient for people, because some of the speakers have been quite good on that as well. So I'll turn it over to Martha here for a minute.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, good morning. What I would like to point out to everybody in the room is this little survey. This is the question asking, like, if there's a better time to attend the Zoom meeting for Sanctuary of Earth, other than Wednesdays in the evening. So, and then it's sort of a Likert scale. How interested are you? And for the people on Zoom, no, you probably can't see this, but basically, if you would just indicate in the chat if you're interested in attending a Zoom talk on spiritual practice on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being very much, 10 being not so much. And if you would like to attend, what times generally work for you in the evenings, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Saturday morning or Sunday morning or early afternoon. So just kind of indicate it in the chat and we'll sort of parse it out. And then for those of you who have this, if you'll just, when Tom passed the basket around, just stick that in the basket, that would be great. And then the next speaker is Michelle Risa, and she's going to be on Zoom Wednesday, January 3rd at 7 p.m. to 8:30. And the title is What Will My Evolutionary Leap Require? And exploring the gap between what I say I believe and what I actually live in my spiritual practice. And that is coming up again Wednesday, January 3rd at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Any questions? Pull me aside later. Thanks.
Thank you, Martha. And please, we would like to have the piece of paper back in the basket, but not as a substitute for a contribution. We're going to do a little opening meditation now, so I invite everyone to loosen up, put both feet flatly on the ground, get yourself in an open body posture, not have with your arms crossed, and so forth. So relax. Take about 3 deep breaths, very slow. This is the time of year, and in 4 or 5 days, well, that's 6 days, I think, we have the winter solstice on this year on the 21st, and then 3 days later we have what the Christians call Christmas, and of course, as many in this group are already well aware, the reason that the birth of Jesus is construed to have occurred on December 25th is because that date has for many, many, many thousands of years been celebrated by humans across the planet as a date when the sun is reborn. It's the date when the sun dies on the solstice, and then 3 days later to 4 days later is the first time that the sun is visible again in terms of the days getting longer. And so every year people have celebrated the rebirth, the death of the sun on the solstice, the winter solstice, and the rebirth of the sun 3 to 4 days later. And in fact, the tradition of having a tree that is decorated to celebrate the rebirth of life has been around since at least 2500 BC. So it's not a new behavior we're involved in here. And so I mention this because this is a time of year when cultures across the world, whether they're Christian or not, take special time out to celebrate the change of seasons and so forth, and to connect with the divine. And so I wanted to pick a meditation that would allow us to do that in some respect. And I want us to go through a brief exercise here of an affirmation. This is more along the lines that you would find in a traditional culture where people were undertaking to connect in a more direct way with the divine than we do in our organized religious traditions, where you would have in India, you would have oms and other mantras and so forth. In Tibet, you have the Tibetan monks chants and so forth. And in more traditional cultures, still you have drumming and all sorts of acts like that, flute playing, all sorts of dance and many things. But I would ask us all to involve ourselves for a few moments here in some oms. So I'm going to start, and you can follow my lead. And those on Zoom can unmute if you wish, so we can all share in this. And now I'm going to do something that I personally have found over the years helps connect me with the divine, and those that I have shared it with have experienced similar responses. So I'm going to do this, and then you can follow my lead. I am. I am. I am. We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
We are.
This is meant to reinforce both the singularity of the one consciousness of which each and all of us are participants and parts, and also to reinforce our togetherness, the I and the we. So to that I say Aho and Amen, and we're done with that. Thank you very much. Also, we have a speaker today, and I know those of you maybe feel it's kind of a long time getting to it, but we have a speaker named Sonny Beach, who comes to us from Baltimore. He's an artist, and he told me some other stuff he's done, but I can't keep it in my mind. And but he is, what from all accounts, quite a remarkable individual, remarkable soul. All of us are, but apparently Sonny has a wonderful way of expressing himself in this respect, and we're delighted to have him here. I see he has a following. Well, one thing I'd like to mention those I see a few faces in the crowd that are not familiar, who maybe not been here before or not on our list. We have a list in the back on the table by the door that has it says, "Please put my name on the IONS list." We send out a mailer each month for these meetings, and we, as I said, everyone is welcome to come. And so, if you would like to be on a list, please put your name and email address on there. Please put it legibly enough that it can be read, and you will start getting our monthly flyer. All right, so today we're going to have a wonderful fellow who's traveled down here from Baltimore to give us some information and some inspiration, and he's the one speaker we've ever had in all these years who refused to give us a resume, and so he and so I made up one line. That was all I could come up with, and did the best I could with acting on just instinct and nothing else. But in any event, he wanted his what he has to say to speak rather than things about him to be the subject of his talk. So without further ado, I want to give you our speaker of today, Sunny Beach, also known as Sun Eater. So thank you very much, Sun.
Grandest arisings, most beautiful souls. Thank each and every single one of you for being here. I am deeply honored and very grateful that anyone wants to have to hear what I have to say, let alone that this brings so many souls together in a unified field. So just to play off a little bit of what Tom was saying, we are, I am, all one. Everyone in here truly understands that, and this is a testament of what unity looks like, regardless of the path that we took to get here. It has all led us here together. So my talk today is going to be called The Heart of Shamanism. We're going to explore all types of different subjects. Just a little brief overview. It's going to be an exploration into the wisdom, power, and mysteries of holistic medicine, mysticism, magic, nature, alchemy, intention, ascension, our multidimensional reality, consciousness, and creation. So just to continue to bring us all together and play off of kind of how Tom started for us, we're just going to kind of go over a couple of basics as far as universal laws of magic, and you will notice all of these are very similar, regardless of how they're worded. So the first law, and that all shamans, all practitioners that are truly living in unity consciousness and embodying that, understand the law of divine oneness. All is one. The law of divine oneness states that everything is connected. Everything in the universe is an extension of source energy, which means nothing is separate on a spiritual level. Just the illusions the ego creates, that's all. And the second law is the law of vibration. The law of vibration states that everything in this world, whether tangible or intangible, is made up of energy that is vibrating at a specific frequency. Each and every single one of us carries our own unique vibration. And it's because of that vibration and the resonance that we've all connected through this. And that's the beauty of it. The law of correspondence. The law of correspondence states that your external reality is a direct reflection of your internal state. This law makes it easy to assess the alignment of your vibration. If you don't like the external reality, change your thoughts, change your vibration. It begins within us, first and foremost, and then the reflection, the projection comes outside of us. But it begins with that internal shift, first and foremost. And no one's going to do it for you. This is up to each and every single one of us to change that which in us that's causing disease in the first place, or doesn't feel in alignment with our heart or our intentions. The law of attraction. The law of attraction states that which is like unto itself is drawn. Our energy is constantly attracting things that are a vibrational match for it. The law of inspired action. The law of inspired action states that inspiration will come about when you are aligned with who you are as an extension of source. And for us to be fully aligned with who we are and to be present, that means to be in the heart center. And to begin to truly understand what source is starts in the heart, and it's a feeling. Regardless of if we can see it or not, it begins within our heart. And love is not just a frequency. Love is not just a feeling, it is a vibration. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy states that energy is constantly evolving or fluctuating. It never rests. It's constantly going from one form into the other. The law of cause and effect, which this would be the law of karma. The law of cause and effect states that for every cause, there's an effect in life. Our thinking, the cause, and our experiences are the effects of our thinking. The law of compensation. The law of compensation states that you reap what you sow. What you give to others shall be given to you. What you withhold from others shall be withheld from you. The law of relativity. The law of relativity states that everything is relative because we all perceive reality in our own unique way. Prioritize inner peace over defending the truth because truth is relative. The law of rhythm. The law of rhythm states that cycles are a natural part of the universe, just like the 4 seasons, our life, the planet, and the cosmos has its own seasons as well too. And now we're just going to go over the laws of karma. And personally, why I like to start with a lot of this is this gives us the foundation to build on. And anyone, regardless of the term, whether you want to call it shamanism or spirituality, it begins with this to build on and to truly begin to live in the law of divine oneness. Starts with these foundational elements, and y'all will be able to notice too that there are very direct correlations between the laws of magick, the universal laws, and the laws of karma. Okay, so the first law, it's the great law, and this is the law of cause and effect. Whatever we put into the universe will come back to us. The law of creation. Life does not happen by itself. We need to make it happen. The law of humility. One must accept something in order to change it. The law of growth. When we change ourselves, our lives will follow suit too. The law of responsibility. We must take responsibility for what is in our lives. The law of connection. The past, present, and future are all one. Time is not linear. It's a 3D way of thinking that we were programmed to think down here. It is happening all at once in the mind of whatever we want to call source, the quantum field. It's all now. The law of connection, or my bad. The law of focus. We cannot think of 2 different things at the same time. It's kind of hard to be present when we're still living in the past or we're creating thought forms and projections of the future. And that's actually what creates anxiety within us, is because we're not fully being present, i.e. in the heart, in the moment, and just living for right now within that single breath. The law of here and now, or the law of giving and hospitality. Our behavior should match our thoughts and actions. If you're kind and loving, then it should be that. The law of here and now. Nope, my bad. The law of change. History repeats itself until we learn from it and change our path. And that can only come from within us first and foremost. Because if not, it will continue to come up in our field until we correct whatever it is internally within us that continues to have that coming back to us. And it's normally based in trauma for most of us, and we will continue to repeat that until we internally go in and address whatever the disease is, whatever the root cause that is making that happen. And until that is done, it will just continue. That's what the Buddhists kind of call the wheel. We're just stuck. We're going in this just loop until we actually internally make a shift within our own consciousness, and that only comes from within us. The law of patience. The most valuable rewards require persistence. The law of significance and inspiration. Rewards are a direct result of the energy and effort we put into it. Now we're just going to go over the laws of magic. And again, y'all will notice a lot of the same correlations to this, because regardless of what and how you practice, or whatever you want to call your spiritual practice, these foundational elements are immutable, and this is what everything is built off of it. That's why they're cosmic and universal laws, and why these laws and principles, regardless of the tribes and cultures all throughout Earth's history, without being able to actually communicate with each other, they all had these foundational laws built upon. So clearly they were all tapped into the same thing. So the first law of magic is the law of knowledge, or gnosis. In order to affect a thing, we must know about the thing. And the more that we know about that thing, the more we can also know about something else. And this also comes into empathy. So in order to truly understand magic or understand creation begins within the heart. And so empathy is understanding how others feel and being able to feel that and utilize that. Law of identification. With your will, you can become anything and one with anything. The law of contagion. Anything that has been in contact with something else maintains contact with things through the ether. So if we're all hanging out together, then we're kind of taking on each other's thought forms and emotions and feelings, and especially if someone or there's multiple souls in the group that really have something that they're working through and going on with that, we would all pick that up. The law of names. Knowing the true name of something defines the action you take and focus on that thing. In order to affect something, we must know it first and foremost. The law of cause and effect. Under exactly the same conditions, using the same actions, we will always obtain the same results. The law of infinite data. There is more in the universe than we can sense, know, and learning never stops for us. The law of association. If a thing reminds us of something else, it can be used as substitution for the original purpose we had in mind. The law of infinite universes. If we change our perspective in one area, we can change the universe. There are always three choices available to us. The law of invocation and evocation. There are forces outside and inside of us that we can tap, act, and manifest through our mind, temple, and within the morphogenetic field. The law of pragmatism. If it works, it's true. The law of predestination and free will. Events are predetermined. Each person chooses whether or not to participate. The law of polarity. Everything contains and implies its opposite. So what is shamanism? What isn't shamanism would be a better question. Shamanism pretty much essentially comprises all of creation, and then it just comes down to what flavor do you like. You could say that the shaman is the bodhisattva, is the Buddhist, is the mystic. They're all one and the same. And Jesus and Buddha were mystics and healers. They were shamans. That's what they were. So shamanism is a healing practice that has been around since time immemorial. It is found in all tribal cultures, in all traditions, and it is the foundational element. So the shaman would have been the priest, they would have been the doctor, they would have officiated rites, they would have helped souls into the afterlife, they would have gone in and done soul retrieval. They were basically the first doctor available at the time period, and they had their practices through a non-invasive approach by being able to guide souls through their conscious mind within to whatever it is that is hidden within souls that need healing, and guide them to that in order to help them to heal. Because every one of us is a shaman. Every one of us has the power to heal, not only ourselves, but to also inspire others to heal, just by our own words, our own actions. So there are a couple essential and core concepts of what we might think shamanism is. Everything that exists is energy. The shamanic practitioner knows this. Energy and matter are the same, and everything has a vibration. Everything that exists is connected to everything else in an infinite tapestry and web of life. And the shaman is able to see that they are intimately connected between the mineral, the animal, the plant, the human, the elemental, the Davic, and the higher realms. And they bring that back down into the physical in a pragmatic way that works. All beings have an energy body. We can call it a luminous body. We can call it a light body. It's one and the same thing. This overlays our physical or our gross matter body, and it is a projection that is coming out of our chakras while incarnated. This energy body exists before birth and continues after birth. So just like when we're born and we're in our mother's womb, we're attached by the umbilical cord. Once we incarnate and we come out of our mother, we are now a child of Mother Earth. And we have what's called a silver cord, which attaches us to this planetary body for the time period while we're here. And our actual internal chakras align to the chakras of the planet, as within, so below, as without. So without, the planet also is a direct reflection of each and every individual one of our temples, the same way the cosmos is. And the shaman understands that. All beings are divine and have direct access with the Great Spirit. Unless they have lost their connection, the shaman is the one who is here to guide them back to their soul, to their spirit, and it begins within the heart first and foremost. Because the shaman is a servant of love and they serve everyone. If they're truly in service to others, they were called because they felt and saw the suffering, not only within themselves, but of others around them, and that is what inspired them to be of service and to heal others, to help others. There are non-ordinary physical and multidimensional realities that are just as real and physical as our 3D reality that the shaman is very aware of and can move throughout fluidly and easily while also being fully physically present in 3D reality. The shaman has the ability to see the unseen inner and spiritual realities. Shaman moves throughout higher realms and different realities that can be entered by altering states of consciousness through many different uses. Some of the cores are sound, rhythm, movement, and plant medicine and allies, and breathing. Relationships with all realities can be developed between allies and spirits, elementals, angels, and all types of other multidimensional beings that can offer guidance, healing, wisdom, and power. And here are a few of the roles that the shaman normally. So officiating rites of passage, training, and ceremonies. So the shaman, first and foremost, is a guide. So even to find a shaman means first and foremost that the practitioner, they themselves felt a calling. The shaman never goes out and seeks anyone out. It's never by coincidence. It is truly a fortuitous moment. They sing healing songs. Some through the Amazon rainforest would be called icaros. These are medicine songs that are very specific, that are given to the shamans while they're deep in their healing work to bring back. And each and every single icaro or song has a certain key, vibration, and frequency that is very specific to the work that they're doing and the healing that they're doing. And it's tailored completely to whoever they're helping heal. They're very comfortable and use many different forms of plant energies, and plant spirits for healing purposes. They're the first holistic practitioner, and they have a non-invasive approach because they know how to work in complete harmony with Mother Nature, and they're just the facilitator of that. That's it. Channeling, they are capable of channeling life force or chi, vital energy, spiritual, elemental, mental, emotional, and personal healing energy through hands-on healing or just a simple tone. They are capable of divinating information, wisdom, and knowledge from the ordinary and non-ordinary worlds. They have the ability to communicate with nature spirits, devas, and elementals through plants, animals, minerals, and understanding magic and how to work with the elements through water, fire, air, earth, aether, space, and the Great Spirit, because they are just a conduit for all of these things, and the true shaman understands that. They act as an intermediary between the invisible and metaphysical spirit realms and with the physical realms in order to restore health, to drive out unhelpful spirits, trauma, diseases, and to ensure success in hunting, gathering, agriculture endeavors, and the health and well-being of the community and those that they serve. They will teach apprentices, they will help initiate those into the practice, and they guide souls on certain spiritual quests. They have the ability to interpret dreams, to influence the weather, and to perform exorcisms by removing possessing spirits, evil spirits, and souls who have not crossed over from a person, family, group, people, and space through exorcism and a purification. They have the ability to retrieve lost power and lost fragmented soul aspects by guiding those who suffer and helping them put the pieces of themselves back together. They have the ability to communicate with those who have passed away from the physical world. Okay, so a little bit about medicine. What is medicine? Well, medicine, at least from the Latin term, means ars medicina, meaning the art of healing. And if we were just to get real blunt and basic about it, all medicine is something that is good and healthy for someone's health and well-being, and that wouldn't cause harm at all, regardless of what that medicine is. So what is ascension? Ascension is the mechanics and spiritual science that compose all of creation. It is how consciousness moves through one time-space matrix, i.e., our chakras, and is the organic evolution and natural process and progression of consciousness, which is the evolution of the mind, body, and soul. Our spirit, our soul, is as infinite as are we, and we're just a fractalized fragment of the one. So we contain it all within us, and this is just a temporary journey, this human experience. And a lot of the conversations that I've had with everyone that I've worked with, the thing that we've all come back to for what it really means to be human is to feel. It's to really feel the contrast of what the lack of love looks like, and then to embody what true unconditional love is in the face of that. So, dependent on which model you're looking at, we either have a 15 to 22 to 7 different chakra setup. I'm just going to go through a very basic, just 7 dimensions and densities, just to build a baseline off of. And all chakras they're just forms of consciousness. So the root chakra would be our unconscious and subconscious mind. So this is going to be the mineral kingdom. The secondary chakra would be our sacral. So this would be what would be our instinctive mind, and it just progressively goes up from there on our own soul evolutionary journey, which each and every single soul goes through in their own way. Okay, so the root, sometimes known as the Muladhara, or the root chakra, the element it is associated with is for earth. First density, first dimension, and this would be associated with the mineral kingdom. So each and every single one of us has been a crystal. We've been stalactites, we've been rocks, we've been, not just that we have the ability to tap into what those substances feel like, because they're all different forms of consciousness on the planet, but we ourselves have already gone through that process. For us to even be in a human body means that we've already gone through being within the mineral kingdom. We've gone through being a plant and an animal on the way to now being an embodied human soul in a human temple. So our root chakra is going to be for the un and subconscious mind, and this is where our gross matter body or our physical body is projected out of. And The root chakra is associated with preservation, safety, security, groundedness within the physical, present, and literally being present. You're in the body, you're right here, right now. That's it. You're connected with the earth. For the second chakra, this is going to be the sacral chakra, the svadhisthana, and this is associated with water. This is going to be within the first density and the second dimension. So it's a higher form of consciousness than we were down in our root chakra. And this is associated with sensuality, creativity, sensitivity, passions, our sexuality, our desires. This is what we feel through as it's connected to our central nervous system. This is where all the feelings actually come from. It's not coming from the heart. While the heart itself is producing electromagnetic frequencies, it's really our sacral that feels everything. Which is why it's pretty obvious to see the difference between those that are caught up in lust down here and those that are truly caught up in love. Each and every one of these chakras has a specific correlating tone or frequency or chord. So if we go back to the root chakra, this would be associated with C. And then if we go back up to the sacral, this would be associated with D. So the same way our consciousness evolves and rises, the frequencies are in the harmonic universe are associated exactly with it. So it goes higher and higher and higher up an octave. As we raise consciousness, the frequency, literally the vibration and the tone, increases as we rise up. So for our third chakra, this is going to be our soul, our solar plexus, where our soul is our inner sun. And this is still going to be what would be considered the third dimension and first density, which would be carbon-based. This is going to be our reasoning mind, or what we consider to be our ego. This has to do with our self-confidence, our will, our power, our self-sovereignty, our assertiveness, and has to deal with healthy boundaries along with vitality. The tone that would be associated, or the key that would be associated with this, would be E. Now we're going to go up to the heart. Everyone loves the heart. And everyone here, I can tell, I can feel each and every single one of you, where everyone is connected by the heart. So this is what's called the anahata, or the heart chakra, and this would be associated with the element of air. This would be what's considered the fourth dimension, or the astral realm. This is really the space that we're going into when we're dreaming. And so each and every one of the chakras, same way it has a tone and a frequency, has its own duration as far as when we go through these forms of consciousness that we're evolving through in order to experience and expand our awareness and our consciousness as we grow through these different chakras, forms of consciousness. So the heart is going to be associated again with the astral mind, or the astral realm, which is the beginning of our soul as it comes into the body. In order to truly be ensouled, one must be living through the heart and living in love first and foremost. Our heart is going to be associated with love, compassion, empathy, forgiveness, non-judgment, gratitude, generosity, acceptance, humility, open, receptive, creative, self-acceptance. And then for this, it's going to be associated with the key and chord of F. So a real simple practice that I like to do is, without even doing any affirmations or mantras, I'll just go up the scale of a guitar, or I'll use tuning forks. And that's a real easy way in your practice to just kind of clear your mind, and then you can actually feel yourselves shift and move through every single form of consciousness with each note that you hit. Again, the creator did not mess up by making any of this. Very, very specific design, and knew exactly what it was doing as far as whatever we want to call it, God or source. So for the fifth chakra, or what a lot of souls, whether your star seed, or however you are in the spiritual community, the fifth density or the fifth world, whether ancestrally with all the prophecies from Hopi or the red and blue star Kachina prophecies, who prophesied anew based on the time cycles of the Earth's evolution and the human's evolution that would reach a certain point. And the same way the Mayans did, and many other cultures all knew how the time cycles of the planet worked and how they themselves worked as far as evolution and why they were down here. So currently, we're shifting, and we're all seeing that shift of what it looks like to now be in a 3D consciousness as opposed to being within a fifth dimensional consciousness, which is unity consciousness. Truly, we're all one. We're oneness. We're living and embodying it. It's not just a concept. No, every one of us is living that and living together in oneness and harmony. And so for the fifth chakra, or the throat chakra, it's going to be called the Vishuddha. This is associated with the element of ether, or sound, tone. It's going to be within the fifth dimension, and this would be what would be considered the angelic kingdom. So this is where our communication comes from, our self-expression, to create, to speak, to be heard, authenticity, truthfulness, our attentiveness, being able to listen, being diplomatic, being in unity. It's non-dualistic, has to deal with resonance, healing, discernment, and manifestation. So what we think, we become; what we feel, we attract; and what we imagine, we create. So it begins with the thought first and foremost, and then we have the feeling of it, then we speak it, and so it will be, and then it comes back to us. That's how powerful each and every single one of us. You know, everything you need, you're already encoded with it. You have it. Each and every single one of us has these gifts. And again, it starts within the heart, and then being able to use your voice. I'm in alignment with my heart. And so we speak the reality that we wish to create and we wish to live. And so it will unfold, and watch how quick it happens. So the third eye, or the ajna, this is going to be associated with the element of mind and light. This is the sixth dimension. It's going to be the archangelic or celestial mind. This is still the soul. This has to deal with all our clairs, which would be our intuition, our insight, our wisdom, our imagination, our self-reflection, our ability to compassionately witness ourselves without attachment, visualization, understanding, our knowingness, our second sight, beyond the physical reality. This has to do with our clarity, our psychic awareness through forms like telepathy, clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. The tone that this would be associated with is going to be in A. And so I also didn't go over the blockages. So if we have a blocked third eye, it's filled with illusions. If we have a blocked throat chakra, it's filled with lies. And if we have a blocked heart chakra, it's filled with grief. If we have a blocked solar plexus, it's filled with guilt. If we have a blocked sacral, it's filled with shame. And then if we have a blocked root, it's filled with fear. So if you're feeling or experiencing any of these things, it's probably because that's what it's stemming from. And now the subconscious mind literally retains everything. It stores everything. The un and subconscious mind is the hard drive for each and every single one of our individual souls, for our matrix. And so there are things that when we come down in this experience and we incarnate into whatever family line we do, we end up taking on the karma of the family line that we're coming in. So that also means that we end up absorbing that and taking it on. And so now any past traumas now become our own, and that is all stored within the subconscious mind, and that needs to go in and be cleared and healed and addressed. And that's what the shaman will also help do and guide someone to. Now we're going to end on the crown with it, which is the Sahasrara. The element is going to be beyond all spirit. It's within the 7th dimension. This is going to be the archangelic Devic kingdom. This is going to be universal mind opening up to intelligent infinity. This has to deal with our enlightenment, our transcendence, living within universal love, living within inspiration, intelligent infinity. This is our spiritual understanding, our spiritual awareness, wisdom, gnosis, which is our self-knowledge to know, our self-mastery, presence, and open-mindedness comes from. And so this is going to be associated with the key of B. Again, our chakras are the same way we are in. We're in a harmonic universe, and it just goes up the scale. It's the same way with our consciousness does. It just evolves as we raise our frequency and raise our vibration. When you hear these terms, raise your vibration, which I know is like super popular in the community and getting out more in the public more and more, that's really what we're all saying. It's to raise your consciousness, raise your frequency to a certain point. Does anyone have any questions so far? Yeah.
And I was just wondering, have you experienced these dimensions and what that is like?
Mm-hmm. Very much so. So the 5th dimension would be what's considered like the archetypical mind. So it's more the mental body.
Mm-hmm.
So like 3D reality, we're used to everything kind of being in matter. You know, we're used to the physicality of it, whereas a 5th dimensional mindset, it's not just that it's in unity consciousness. No, it's within that expansion that it understands it's all one. So there's no illusion of separation. It doesn't see that at all. It understands that is connected to every single aspect of creation. You know, if that answered it for you, I hope.
Yeah, I think I got it. Thank you.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, please.
Hi, my name's Martha. So there's 2 books that are resonating with 2 things that you just said. One is Power versus Force, The Hidden Determinants of Human Behavior by David Hawkins, very famous for the Hawkins scale vibration. And then the other one is It Didn't Start With You, How Inherited Family Trauma Shapes Who We Are and How to End This Cycle by Mark Wolin, who's famous for research with Bessel van der Kolk, who is a psychiatrist who does research on trauma. And exactly what you just said, they researched, I forget which university it was, but so awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm really, really grateful, and I hope that this wisdom and this information is resonating with you. Because again, half of it, I have a guideline, but I'm just going with it by the feel of the room, you know? So, and again, if any one of you has any questions, please come up and ask.
Very, very interesting. Thank you. You cited, I didn't count them, 40-some laws of the universe, maybe 50, I don't know. What laws of the universe are in place in Gaza and Israel right now?
Well, the same laws apply, but the intention and those that are doing this clearly are not living within unity consciousness. So those beings that are doing this, that are causing separation, that are causing violence, that are treating one group of souls based on their affiliation or their skin tone separate from the others. The same laws apply to it. You know, it's all one. It's regardless of positive or negatively polarized, it's still an aspect of the one, and both sides are serving the other. It's within creation, it's a paradox. You know, both positive and negative polarities. If we want to serve the self or if we want to serve others, it's serving the whole of God or source. And whether we can see it or not, there is certainly a higher purpose to all this and the why.
Are some of the suffering people experiencing their karma.
Potentially, yes. Hmm.
They
And
had past lives where they inflicted suffering on others.
yes. Hmm. And this is that reciprocity for that,
So is this cleansing?
potentially. But I also can't tap fully into that because, again, that's truly something that only Source knows the why. And for each and every single one of these souls, for their karmic contracts, or why they're experiencing this level of pain or suffering or out there, right now.
Okay, thanks. Great talk.
Thank you.
This is Dan. If anybody online wants to ask a question, raise your electronic hand and I'll.
Hey, Sonny, Michael Boothby here. Just everything you said has been so great. I guess what I'm interested in is how do you apply all these laws, into your life so that you are kind of constantly transforming, transmuting, and making an impact in your community? Because I know you, and all the work that you do up in Baltimore is it's so beautiful. So I just would love to just perhaps if you could share some stories of how you embody these principles and how anyone can embody these principles into their daily life.
Thank you. Great question. I really appreciate that. So outside of here, why I got into any of this is because I suffered and I could feel the pain of all those around me, and it was accelerated through my own suffering, but I didn't know what I was suffering from. So we're all familiar with the dark night of the soul, this journey. So the family line that I was born into, even without realizing it, of course, we know it on the other side. We tend to plan a lot of these things, but when we put the veil of forgetfulness on and we come in, that's the point of it, is to be as authentic, to challenge and push us as much as possible, to grow, to heal for whatever the original intention was for us incarnating. And so I was born in a family line that there was very serious trauma embedded. And so the trauma gets stored in our actual DNA. It's not just that it's within or stored within our subconscious mind, it is also stored within our DNA. And so when we incarnate and the soul embodies into whatever genetic line that we come on, that means that we also inherit both positive and negative aspects ancestrally of whatever that entire family line is coming into. So from a very early age, I could definitely see things that I know others were not seeing. I had an awareness that I could feel the feelings of everyone and everything around me. That also included the animal kingdom. And the thing that really started to spark it for me and inspire me to create the balance between both the physical and the metaphysical was that, from what I saw from an early age, that there was a very, very serious disconnection from Mother Nature and from each other. And through that, my younger self didn't quite understand why that was, and it's what led me down the path that it has, through addiction, through all types of different forms of healing modalities, to be able to heal those aspects and then be able to take that out into the community. So for me, the thing that I found that was the most powerful, as far as besides the actual internal work of navigating myself to karmas or traumas that I was not aware of or that I was suppressing, really began with using plant medicine, as far as psilocybin. That's what really began to kind of start giving me a baseline and a guideline of how to navigate with these things. And then through that, I felt like a natural call to only start eating plants. And once I started shifting my consciousness to that, and it stemmed from an emotional standpoint of, because I no longer wanted to cause harm to anyone or anything around me. And I could feel how the animals felt. I could feel how the trees feel. I could feel how the grass felt, and I didn't want to cause harm any longer. And through that, through healing myself over many years and trial and error. There was not a guideline for me to do this. I had kind of a template, but it was really me figuring out first and foremost the root cause of why that was, and then applying and figuring out a pragmatic approach to heal that. And for me, it began with through art, through dealing with these huge emotions that I was feeling and things that others were not emotionally dealing with that I was now in turn absorbing as an empath without even realizing it. So you talk about transmutation. That was me being able to take all this pain and suffering in the world and reflect it back in the most beautiful, unified way that I could feel and I could express at the time. So, and that's been ever since I was a child. Before I could talk, it was much easier for me to create something or to use color to express a feeling or a mood. And then, so through that, it led me down the path of veganism or raw veganism, fasting, all of that. And so through years of beginning to teach myself nutrition and how everything corresponds with the actual body, I began to actually embody those aspects of it. As I was learning everything, I was walking it at that point. It wasn't just like a concept that I'm reading these things. No, I'm really like healing myself through literally just not eating anything, drinking clean water, moving the body, and then eating raw plants, which to me, a huge cause of where my depression, my fear, my anxiety, all that was coming from was also a major lack of nutrition. And so, like we all know out in the field, there's not a lot of stuff out there that's promoting health and well-being, at any convenience store we go to. So because of that lack of having access to raw and whole plant foods that were able to not only make someone feel good just because they ate, but to really begin to heal them and show them how good one feels just by literally eating plants. So I helped co-create it's called Pure Raw Juice, like a raw plant-based juice company. I came in and helped them develop and expand it further in Baltimore. So, and all it is, so for me, I didn't do any of this stuff for money. I did it for the need to wish to heal and help the community. That's why I was originally drawn to this concept. And so through that, we were able to make raw cold pressed juices and smoothies. And from 2017 onwards to now, we've been able to feed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of souls and create opportunities and abundance in the community that did not exist prior to the many souls who began that, and for me coming in and us moving that forward. And then so through that, it really tapped me deeper into just community activism. So I got involved with a local community there called the Mushroom City Art Festival, and they had basically built a community up around the holistic and local like qualities and properties and affinity for mushrooms and how healing that is. And so I basically stepped into serving the community with things that are readily accessible that anyone can go to. Anyone can go and support their local farmer. Anyone can go pick golden seal and began to educate others about that. That no, this is right in your backyard. This is right in the forest. It's everything you need. It's already right there for you, and so that's really what kind of pushed me on this journey and to create an offering that serves the most and consistently, if that makes sense to you. You actually can.
It's really good juice.
It's called purerawjuice.com. PUREJUICE or PURERAWJUICE.com. Yep. And so it comes in a glass bottle. No, not in plastic, which is another big concept. So for me, as I began to really embody these principles of living fully in alignment while causing little to zero harm to the environment or to the planet, is through that PRJ thing you're asking about, to create not only something that served everyone, that caused zero harm, but also created as little to zero waste as possible, which is another big thing that I've always been drawn to, is how do we live as harmoniously with each other, with our own temple first and foremost, with the environment, and then with each other without causing any harm whatsoever, and making everyone and everything that we're around better than we found it or undisturbed. So
Thank you, Sonny.
Hello, Sunny.
hi, cutie.
So I have a question just in regards to, I was just wondering if I could gain some insight on, it feels like we live in a world where there's just like so much certification for everything, and you have to have like certain titles to like, even like, for instance, I'm really feeling called to work a lot with astrology, and constantly I always see things about like, take this course and get the certification for this thing that like tells you that you're credited to be able to work with it. And I've had a lot of times in my life where I've been invalidated by people, especially when I was working in theater, just because I didn't have a credential or a certification. They like invalidated my knowledge in the area. And it just seems like, like nowadays there's just like a certification for everything, and like everything has a course, which I love to learn and I love to teach. So like, I support that, but it's also like I'm in one of the worst financial situations of my life and can't afford these things. And it's just so how like
Most can't.
right. So it's just
not,
like
it's not practical.
yeah, but it's like, and I want to continue to like go and dive into this subject and start learning and reading about it. But there's also like, a little bit of hesitation because I have been so invalidated in the past with, people just, well, oh, you don't have a piece of paper for that.
Mhm.
That says that you know what you're talking about. So like I just wanted to gain some insight about that.
Well, first and foremost, since you're called to it, you're validated by spirit, God, source, whatever you want to call it. And so through that journey and through your seeking and through that being something that is truly authentic within your heart and that you're drawn to, all the wisdom, all the experience, all the knowledge, everything that you could need. And that also includes with, as you begin to embody and practice these things, opportunities and beings that are going to come into your life to expand that for you, if it's what's true in your heart. Now, that also includes with souls that are seeking your practice out. They're not going to be seeking it from an accredited union. They're going to be drawn to you for a very, very specific reason. And that comes back to resonance, to a certain vibrational frequency that we're putting out in the field and that we're also attracting in it. So the power of our mind and our intentions, if you're putting out into the field, I want to heal others, I want to help others through whatever modality it is, and it's true and genuine in your heart, you'll create that and you'll be guided to that through many, many different ways, not as simple as sitting in a classroom and doing this just very direct baseline course. No, you're going to be guided by spirit, by source, by your higher self, your guides, whatever you want to call it. And it's going to provide all the opportunity for you to grow and learn that and put that into practice. And in turn, you'll also find the souls who are seeking that out, who aren't seeking, the accredited route or whatever standard way that they might be seeking healing, they're going to be called and drawn to you. And it'll be right at the moment that they need you, and vice versa, the most. That's normally, so even for shamanism and healing, like my friend Michael, we met a couple years ago at a music and art festival, and just long story short, I had gotten called out to go up to space, and really what we were doing was working an exorcism. So like all of us, whether we're aware of it or not, if our un and subconscious mind is not clear, we're retaining things in it. So there's things in it that just the subconscious mind is operating off of, whether we're aware of it or not, and that we ourselves are unconsciously feeding. And that's where the shadow comes in. These can be our own internal parasitic
sides of self, the unconscious sides of self that we might not have been aware they were feeding. And so through that, I went out to Michael and basically helped him clear these actual entities out of his space, while actually first and foremost clearing the internal thought forms and attachments that were holding that in place first and foremost, which had to deal with doubt and fear and all of that. And it, so thank you. And thank y'all.
Okay. All right. First of all, I'd like to say how grateful I am that you're here, and how much I admire the way you have dealt with your extreme empath abilities. And because I know that's hard, and most people just shut it down.
It's tricky
Stay
for all
shut
of us.
down.
Yep.
Yeah. And for those of us here who are trying to reopen those channels, it's very encouraging to hear that somebody has gone through that and been able to open it up and be a functioning member of society.
It's definitely challenging, as
yeah.
as we all.
Yeah. So in your role as a shaman, I was wondering if you could describe what kinds of things that you do. Do you have ceremonies, specific ceremonies that you do? Do you do journeying? Do you just simply follow what comes from you and through you?
So every moment of every day to me is a ritual and a holy experience. I'm in the temple, I'm in the church, basically, and every moment is an opportunity for me to be of service, to the creation. And so part of it is intuition. It's daily, like what might need to be done. Some of it is actually internal grid work, that is journeying or seeing, like you call it. A lot of it for me is also transmutation and holding space. So like I manage and help run like a holistic grocery store out of Maryland. So a lot of that is even me just literally going and physically being present, eating up everyone's stress, literally just taking care of everyone, making sure everyone feels taken care of, from the actual staff to everyone that's coming into the space, and feel that, and actually feel that sense of love. That seems to eat up the majority of my work. Or I might get called to go work a music or arts festival. So like pragmatically, I'm actually doing like physical labor and setting up art production and doing deco and stuff like that. But metaphysically and empathically, what I'm doing is I'm literally energetically working out any and all doubt or negative vibrations of anything to kind of keep everyone in that space of clarity and in unity and in the heart, so they themselves don't feel like that they're kind of getting overwhelmed by anything. I kind of hide in plain sight more than anything else. It's more internal, energetic stuff that I feel myself doing. The same way, like, when we all came into the space, you can kind of feel everyone shifting and kind of feel everyone getting settled in, all of us together. And so it's about that, and not, for me, it's about going out. A lot of it is clearing and holding space for me, first and foremost. So I will be drawn. So the planetary body, the same way our physical human temple is a direct reflection of each other. So we have what are called nadis, which are energy centers, and then we have our main chakra points, and then we have meridians that tie that all together. The planetary body has the same exact thing. So when I say grid work, what I mean is I will be intuitively called out to a certain space where there might be some type of negative polarity as far as like a denser feeling or just something that needs to be cleared. And I will actually physically go out there. And so the actual highways and the lines that we're on are built on the actual nadi, the corresponding meridians that basically connect everything on the planetary body. So I'll go through that whole entire line work to whatever location that I'm called out to, energetically feel myself clear or work out whatever space, or I'll end up having a connection with a soul that was calling me out there and just literally be. Sometimes it's just being a shoulder for someone to cry on and just be there for someone and have them know that they can be vulnerable and that they're comfortable and that they're supported, you know.
Mm-hmm. So your days are you have your your regular routine within the world, but then you follow what comes from you, and when you feel the need for healing, you're there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, so again, like we're talking about, so if we want to tap into our clairs a little bit more, and like our telepathy and our clair empathy, again, it goes back to resonance. So the beauty of, at least as far as I understand shamanism, and by the way, it is not based on gender. Everyone, first and foremost, is their own shaman. It has nothing to do with how you practice or what you practice. It's something that comes from within us, first and foremost. But like, again, so it's resonance. So there's a frequency that's being emitted out in the field. And when I say the field, what I mean is the actual morphogenic field, the quantum field, you know, what we're in. Yeah. And so like, I don't know why I'm going out, but I'm following my intuition. I feel something within me. So I end up going out and being literally drawn to, called. I'm being called by someone or something that needs that type of service at the moment. And that's like half mysticism. That's half the mystery of it. And that's has to deal with us being connected in our heart and also trusting our intuition in that moment, even when it seems kind of strange to us. And there's nothing strange to the shaman, you know what I mean? It's a constant expansion of consciousness. And so I literally go where I'm called. Like, I know it might seem silly, but I mean,
no, it totally makes sense.
Someone puts out a frequency and I'm just there right when they need that. You know,
that's wonderful.
Or I'm there in the space. And so like me personally, I can feel it, especially when I go into. So if we think of like dense, very, very heavy things, like a grocery store or a spot that a lot of people congregate at. So basically what's happening at spaces like that is it's an energy center. So everyone's coming and congregating, but what they're not aware of is that all their unconscious and subconscious thought forms that's just going around their head or whatever unhealed trauma is now like getting stored in these spots. And it's what's called astral larva. It's basically a congregation of all these thought forms that are just there in the ether, but no one can see it, but you can feel it when you go into these spaces. It feels heavy. It feels overwhelming. You can feel the stress and anxiety of everyone there. It's not just empathy. You can feel that there's just something heavier there. So I'll go to even these spaces and clear it. It's not like a service that I'm going out and asking people to try. I just go because something deep in me is calling me, and I know that I need to go there and do that. And 9 times out of 10, I don't know what the work's going to be until I get there, you know?
That's great. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. I'm really grateful. Hi, how are you?
Good. My name is Bonnie, and thank you for coming. I was wondering if you could speak to an experience that I have had in meditation and what that might mean. It is a place, it's very hard to describe, where there is nothing, but there is absolutely everything. You know, and beyond that, it's really hard for me to speak, but it is a very wonderful experience.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you're in the void, which again, this would be just that intersection, that point of consciousness. It's the still point, you know. Mm-hmm. It's the what like people that do breathing exercises communicate. It's that still point within the breath. You're in the in-between space, it sounds like.
Right, and there's also a visual with that. A huge space. Seems to be light, but not extremely bright. Yeah, it's just.
What do you feel when you're there, when you're within this space?
Every possible positive emotion that could exist in the universe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really indescribable.
Again, to me,
In this dimension.
you're feeling that bliss, and I feel it coming
Right.
through you. It almost seems like through your meditation is like this is your kind of your like recharging point. You know what I mean? This is like the space that you can kind of go into. You know, I'm here in the body, but you're shifting your consciousness to this space where, all right, I might have had a really, really, really challenging day or whatever, and to me it seems like this is the space that you go to within the void to energetically replenish yourself and also remind yourself like you're everything, you're nothing.
Right.
And it is truly all one. And again, that's the silly paradoxical nature of what creation is,
Right. Really. Well, I've had an NDE, but not that experience in it at all. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you. I hope that answered your question.
Hi, my name is Jim Jernigan, and thanks for coming. It's really enlightening. I can feel the energy in the room. My question is, why Baltimore? What has drawn you there? It sounds like you've traveled extensively. And so is it a portal? Is there something that draws you to Baltimore?
So kind of to play off a little deeper into energy or grid work, or like I was saying earlier, I might be called somewhere, but I don't always know why. It's the same with this incarnation. Baltimore, and for any of you that have traveled there or had experience there, is a very, very dense, very, very can be viewed as negatively polarized. Don't get me wrong, there's so much beauty and community and so much goodness there, but I'm saying for most souls that come to a space like Baltimore, and then especially kind of the rap it's gotten, there's a lot of pain and trauma and suffering within that space, and especially specifically within the inner city and Baltimore community itself. So why I feel that I was drawn there was, again, that this is a space that really needed as much love and care and compassion and offerings that empower everyone and that cause no harm. And that, to me, that's why I feel that I've been called there and told that space, because personally, I struggled for a very long time being in that city and being there, because energetically, to me, it was very painful and very overwhelming. And so part of, as I've been internally healing and as I was going through the most intense process of that, so as I was internally making that shift and ascending and healing my consciousness, so too the external reality began to reflect that more and more. And I could actually feel through this process the space that I'm in as far as Baltimore progressively become lighter and lighter and lighter over the years. It was a slow process until the last few years, but I'm healing. And as far as shamanism or any healer, like we don't go to where it's all love and light. We go where those that need healing and need love and compassion and need someone the most are. And so that's why I feel that I've been called to Baltimore, because there's a very deep need for an empowered community that creates opportunity and abundance and raises everyone up instead of oppressing and taking from them. Again, like we've all seen from every single major city center. So if we're talking about the planetary body is a direct reflection of our internal body, so that means all these cities, and that's why it looks like a circuit board, because it's very specifically built up on an energy portal that it's siphoning energy from. And now most of these centers have a stadium, which is right next to water. It's channeling electromagnetic energy. And now think about it this way. We have two different football teams that are now going into this space. You have 60,000 souls that are now both positively and negatively polarized, and it's creating a charge. So these spaces are for sure like larger nadis or chakra systems, energy portals as far as the actual planetary grid. And it's also a space where souls are purposely kind of being congregated into to also be fed off of energetically. And so I go where those that suffer and who need love the most, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. For sure, it does.
Yeah, I just got a quick comment about Baltimore. Just like
do you want me to
there's.
stay down by the water there for you?
Hey, hon, wash your clothes in the zinc.
Mm-hmm.
No, just like there's a contraction for Fredericksburg as F''Berg, there's be more city where you can always be more.
Well, I mean, it's the same way each and every, so, okay, we're all an individual cell of the one consciousness, and we're certainly all an individual cell of the macrocosm that is the planetary body, whatever we want to call the unified field. So each and every one of you, as well, the space that you hold and where you are located is also very, very specific for each and every one of your work, both for the self and for the community that you serve. You know,
I just wanted to say to the young lady over here, what's your name? Court. So, so I didn't mean to assume your gender. Sorry about that. But, so I came into the world with my heart chakra is huge, and I wanted to heal and help, and I'm a wanderer and all that stuff, you know.
Mhm.
And I went first to seminary, and then I went to become a counselor. And then over the past 27 years of being a counselor, I've had to pay more attention to the heart and do more things like Reiki and energy work and sound healing, and kind of get out of my own way with the left brain stuff, because the right brain stuff, I mean, and eventually it balances, but you don't need to have the paper.
Yeah.
The paper is kind of like extraneous to
You are the paper.
You are the paper. There you go. That's all I want to say.
Well,
You are the
and so that goes back to kind of just to play off of what you're saying again, regardless of the term we want to call it, a shaman or not, any healer or holistic practitioner and someone that is truly in service to others is just a conduit, and they understand that. They're literally a channel for not only their own soul to work through, but for truly, whether you want to call it God, source, the great spirit to work through. So like you're saying, all the different healing modalities that you've had to kind of get deeper into just for your own like mental, emotional, physical, spiritual upkeep is so the same way a crystal can retain consciousness is we are all the ultimate crystal. And so that means if our unconscious mind is filled with unresolved traumas and fears that's stored within us, and it's going to keep coming back to our field. So we need to clear that out of us. The shaman does that. The same way a crystal can store energy, we as well store energy. And if we're not mindful of it and we're not transmuting it, we're not actually moving the energy through us, then in turn it begins to become stagnant within us. We're literally holding it on, and you can feel it. You can tell when there's something within you, there's something off. I don't know what it is, but also too, like with empathy, you know, a big part that I know all of us struggle with, because there's not a guideline on this. We all have very specific experiences to us that number one, teach us how to have very firm boundaries, how to observe and not absorb, which that's a very challenging one that I know for anyone that has any empathic ability goes through. And then also learning not just to have firm boundaries, but also when to say no. Because everyone's everything, regardless of our nature to be of service to others and to help others, does not mean that it's always appropriate, and that sometimes that might be that own individual soul's karma that they need to go through itself. And it's not always up to us to step in and to interject, you know, with someone's life path, which I know can also be very, very challenging, because that's the point. Our heart's open, we're unconditionally loving, we're giving, you know, we want to help. And so it's a very challenging road that each and every single one of us goes through to learn how to having completely open heart chakra while also living in detachment and not taking on everyone's everything, and also being able to discern others' energy. So we're all in a room together now, and we're definitely a unified field. It's pretty obvious, but like if we know we were to go into like a grocery store or a more chaotic space, we would be able to start to pick up on that. And then, so like the key is almost like, so if we have our light body, it's an energy bubble basically. And so it's about being mindful of like, okay, I'm going to go into this space and I know that I'm going to kind of deal with a space that there's a lot of chaotic energy, and I'm not going to take it on. The intention first and foremost is key. You can use all types of visualizations, but the intention is what it starts with first and foremost. And also being mindful that when we're out and we're in the field and we're being of service, of being able to tell like, what are my feelings and what are someone else's feelings. And that's a very tricky process that each and every one of us gets our butts kicked, to kind of figure out how to navigate that, with grace. So
Great talk, great vibe.
Great soul, great entire souls.
Yeah, as an aside, I've been thinking that we are kind of, when we're healing, we're kind of smart rain spouts, that we're kind of taking it in and
Absolutely.
shooting it out.
Very much so.
Can you speak a little more about how you, when healing people directly, how you're helping to clear their chakras or clear their energy? You kind of use those kind of words.
Okay. So to me personally, the most powerful medicine, and like we go back to it, is for the nature of what a shaman is just to be the conduit as the ultimate tool. And personally, I've found in my practice and those that I've worked with, is that not everyone is ready for plant medicine. Not everyone is ready for these big, intense processes. And so like we think of Western psychology, that's really the beginning of it. But it's about first and foremost going in and being able to have someone feel what it feels like to be in an unconditionally loving space that they can be comfortable in, that they can be vulnerable, as they're basically going up into their own heart chakra to be able to express themselves for any type of repressed emotion that they might have had, or feelings that were not being expressed. So part of it is just going and normally holding space, like one-to-one with someone, and being present with them, and basically energetically setting the space. And so like while I'm doing this, I myself can actually feel myself go in with their higher self and raise and shift their consciousness, or be guided to certain traumas or aspects within themselves that they didn't know. So while that's happening and we're just sitting one-to-one, what'll end up happening as we're guiding them to whatever trauma that we're working through, they will speak it. It'll come up and out of them. So past life regression, if y'all are familiar with it. So either that aspect of whatever fragmented aspect of the soul will step in and communicate it from a past life, or they'll speak on the current life of something that was deeply embedded within their own and subconscious mind. So a lot of it is not seen. Most of it's not seen, but the energy's felt and seen. And so like, as I'm just guiding a soul towards whatever they need healing or clearing with, I, on my end, sometimes dependent, I can fully see their chakra centers and see their highest self, and see, what actual spaces are that we're moving it and where it's stored in the body, whether in a gland or actually like in an organ or something like that, and where the physical location is. And then as they're communicating whatever it is and they're working through whatever it is that they need healing with, I can actually energetically feel the loosening of it. Like you feel them become lighter and lighter as far as less dense, and then the area that whatever that trauma or that karma is stored in, can actually feel it energetically begin to be removed from them. And as that's happening, they themselves, even in their dialogue, their demeanor, how they're carrying themselves, become calmer and more open and more receptive, as they themselves are literally just speaking out something that they didn't know that was in them, or something that they had been repressing for a long period of time. So a lot of my work is very just straightforward, sitting down as a one-to-one very soberly and being able to have someone else feel comfortable and vulnerable enough that, because the shaman is just the guide, that's it. We're just the intermediary to help everyone's own innate natural abilities and the wisdom that they have within them to tap into that, and just guiding them to it. Sometimes with certain practices, if it is something more intense, I will go and sit with someone for a week. We'll do a couple rounds of, sometimes it's just straight like tincture. So I make basically tinctures out of herb or THC and stuff like that. And this stuff is just as clean and direct as possible. It only has MCT in it. So I'm giving them directly what it is, and I'm just doing this alchemical process. So I'll give them the herb if they feel comfortable working with that, or if someone really needs something more intensive, then I'll sit down with like some fungus or something like that, and we'll kind of do a week-long session. And what normally ends up happening is I stay with whatever soul I'm with until we're finished removing or healing whatever it is. And normally with like the deeper past life regression stuff or the very intense trauma, is I normally even need to just be there physically the whole time, even if they've been fine, they've returned back to their body, they feel much better after a day or two. Like I literally will not leave until I intuitively know that energetically whatever it was that they needed healing with, and whatever might have been possessing them or whatever might have been in that space, is fully gone and basically transmuted out or moved out of the space, or moved out of whatever chakra or organ it was in them. Yep. I have not, no. But autism, and most of autism, why it's caused down here, is because of heavy metal poisoning. So this stuff gets lodged within the liquid of our brain, and so the skies have been sprayed for the last 25 years. We know we have a shit ton of toxic chemicals that have been sprayed on our food, and so a lot of that stuff contains heavy metal in it. So to begin the process to start healing someone of autism starts with actually removing the heavy metal toxins out of their body first and foremost, and then literally cleaning their water by giving them the highest, cleanest, purest water you can, or actual cold pressed juice, plant juice, which is considered H3O. It's crystalline in structure. It contains all the vital nutrients and everything someone would need. But the beginning process is that the heavy metals need to be addressed and removed out of the body. And there's a bunch of different methods you can use as far as actually being able to bind the heavy metals and then have whoever urinate them out, or like basically. So yep.
No. Son? Okay. Sonny, first of all, this has been a fabulous talk. Really has.
Thank you, Tom.
World class. Secondly, I can't tell you how much I admire your ability to articulate these things you're talking about. Your talk about Baltimore is very reminiscent to me for my reason for choosing Richmond as a place to be brought up and a place to stay, despite that I was drawn to other places as well. And why, as a young lawyer, I became mostly doing civil rights work, when it was not exactly a get-rich-quick scheme by any means. And why the great irony is, I remember back in the 90s when there was a move to put a statue of Arthur Ashe on Richmond's famous and vaunted Monument Avenue, and there were all sorts of well-intended architectural review committees who said, well, it just isn't quite architecturally consonant with those other wonderful statues we have on Monument Avenue. And And the great irony is it's the only one left. So it is, this to me is a sign of Richmond healing, and I wanted to also, in terms of your discussion of your activities, 2 years ago in September, I had one of the most enjoyable excursions of my life. I was drawn to, I looked at my calendar and I had a few weeks where I didn't have a lot scheduled. I was drawn to get in the car and drive across the country and back by myself. And I got my friend Tom Ariel to channel some waypoints along the way where I could go and do some work, energetic work. I took my drums and my Tibetan bowls and so forth, and stopped from time to time. But mostly, I was driving along, and I hardly ever turned on the radio, much less anything else. And I was mostly toning my way across the country. And in my mind, what I was doing was spreading a pipeline of light and love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm getting emotional talking about it now, but it was literally one of the most enjoyable, rewarding experiences of my life. I went from here to San Francisco, and back, and I would recommend it for anyone who wants to do that. Not many of us do, but it was a very, very powerful experience, and and I mention it because it seems so connected with the kind of thing you're doing in Baltimore as well. So thank you very much.
No, I'd just like to say a huge, huge thank you to each and every single one of you, to Tom, to everyone who's basically, this community didn't exist without it. And this is a huge testament. And like you said, Tom, of Richmond's need and desire and call to heal. And then each and every single one of you has answered that in your own unique way. And that's the beauty of it. Again, this is, yeah, we might choose it on the other side. We put the veil on. But when we go through this experience with as intense as it is we are definitely all called to it, and spirit will continue to tap us harder and harder. Are you listening? Are you paying attention? Are you ready? Yep. And the moment we begin to spiral back inwards instead of living externally, that's when not only obviously the deep work takes place, but that's when that return back to who and what we are, why we came down here, becomes clear. And it's pretty evident to me in the few conversations that I had with each and every one of you that each and every one of you in your own unique way is deep on that journey. And through that call, how in your own unique way, you're utilizing that to serve the community that you're in, to serve others in general. That is really, really powerful. I mean, that's the crux and the baseline of basically all what Jesus and Buddha came to show everyone. This is what unity consciousness is. This is what actually embodying and living in unity, divine oneness, looks and feels like, and what love really is. And they were shamans, they were healers. They were not a religion, they were not spiritualists, they were mystics who also, the same way each and every single one of you, chose to come down here and be of the highest service to our earth family and to each other, and also get our own butts kicked with our own soul growth and challenges, that we really needed for us to expand and tap deeper and deeper into who and what we truly are. Yep. So thank y'all.
That was wonderful. We've got, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the meeting, we have the book exchange. There's a table in the back of remnants of Robert Bushman's books that he's brought in, and they're getting smaller every month. So walk off with a free book or two or three, or however many you want. And next time you're here, if you got a few you're not reading anymore, and you're willing to let one of those treasures go, then bring it on in and put it on the table for others to pick up. We have our potluck lunch that's right in the hallway, and so Next month we have our 28th anniversary program, and I am the designated speaker for that. As usual, I haven't figured out what the talk will be about, but I'm sure it will be really interesting. And so I'd love for everybody to come and look forward to seeing you then. And in the meantime, have a very happy winter solstice and a very happy celebrating the rebirth of the sun again on the 25th, and a happy new year. And we'll see you in January. Thanks a lot.
And if anybody's interested in raising your vibrations on Wednesday night, we'll be doing a chant night for the solstice at Unity of Richmond at 7 p.m.